Darkcast Network, indie pods with a dark side.
Hi, this is Jenna.
And this is Kelly.
And you're listening to ODFM.
This episode is one demeaning from murder. Have you been demeaned before?
Where do we start?
When haven't I been demeaned?
How much time do we have? This is supposed to be, we're trying to keep these to an hour or less.
I know.
You know?
Let me get my demeaning list out.
Fuck, if this drives people to murder, I'm behind.
Oh, baby.
I know. Behind.
Yeah, but, not everybody who's been demeaned chooses to murder, I would say.
Right, it's a choice. It's a choice, for sure. It's a choice.
It's December 30th of 1988. Going back to the 80s again. We're kind of in the 80s a lot lately, it feels like.
And December 30th is a time when everyone's like, it's the new year. I'm not putting up with shit anymore. Or
I'm done being demeaned.
So I see where this is headed already.
Yep.
Makes sense.
We don't even need to talk about this. It's done.
That makes sense. Time of year says it all.
Okay, so we're in Larchmont, New York.
Larchmont?
Larchmont, yeah. It's like a suburb of northern New York City is what I think I heard. We're with 21-year-old Paul Cox.
Sorry.
This is why I paused. I was like, allow for Jenna to laugh at cock. Yes.
Help it. Okay. All right, I'm a grown-up. It's cool.
Yep, we can handle it. Okay, so Paul Cox, he's home from a stressful semester at college for the Christmas break. Yep. So he plans, rough times. So he plans he's going to go blow off steam and he's going to party hard with friends. He asks his mom, hey, can I borrow your car? And of course, he's not mentioning that he's going to be anything but sober, but drunk. He's not going to be sober at all. So he's getting blasted.
You don't advertise that.
No. Yeah, I'm going to borrow your car. Can I go get trashed and drive it back? Yeah, not smart. But anyway.
Not that you should, but you definitely shouldn't tell your mom.
Yeah, that's because that's not going to happen. But this kid, he's not your typical blow off some steam type of college student. He's only 21, but he's already a full blown alcoholic.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, he's been one since he was 13. So this kid, started drinking at 13.
Dude, I still was gagging on cough medicine at 13. Like I couldn't
swallow a pill. What?
He's down in liquor? Wow.
Yeah, this kid, he was on it. So already he's got issues, but yeah. I mean, his last name is Cox, but
this brings on stress.
It does. Brings on ridicule.
13-year-olds are very, very mean. So
they're very mean. We know.
They're ruthless. So okay.
But to all appearances, he comes from the perfect home life. He's the handsome boy next door, all American looking kid. He had blonde hair, blue eyes.
Wow, it sounds like a lot like the killer in our last episode.
They just translate, don't they? Like, we think they're going to have perfect lives.
From outward appearances, the all-American boy.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
He grew up in a upper middle class. In my terms, I would say rich, but he was Irish-American or from an Irish-American family. He's the fifth of 7 kids. So I'm guessing Catholic.
Pretty safe guess.
Yeah, especially Irish. Guess. Yeah, pretty much.
Irish, Catholic, 5 kids. That sounds about right. Yeah.
Yep. 7 kids. He's the fifth of 7 kids.
He's the fifth of 7?
7.
Clown car. Okay.
The clown car vaginas again. I know.
Clown car vaginas. I don't know, man. I mean,
it's a lot. Her poor vag.
But
poor vag. I mean, she didn't jump on a trampoline for sure. So, poor mom.
She's been wearing Depends since she was 28.
I mean seriously.
It's like the lower body can only handle so much stress.
That pelvic floor is done.
Okay.
All right. This poor Paul, he's the fifth of 7 kids, and his dad, he's a vice president of a Chase bank. So they're not hurting. Okay. They're not hurting.
No. Well, but how far does a paycheck for a vice president stretch for 7 kids, 9 people?
That's very true. Very good point.
I mean, you are stretching your dollars there. So
that's true.
Whatever.
Yeah, maybe it's they are really just upper middle class and not rich.
They wouldn't have been had they had 3 kids, but,
yeah, but they'd have been really wealthy.
7,
they've got a lot more in the bank to not work with. Okay, so where they grew up in Larchmont, like I said, it's small. Well, like I said, it's a suburb of northern New York. It's small, seems like the perfect place to raise kids. It's affluent, well-to-do families, and they just live a few blocks from the Long Island Sound Yacht Club.
Oh.
Yeah, rough.
Yeah.
Rough life. I need a drink.
So it's one of those sketchy neighborhoods, right? Real sketchy.
Yeah, really worried about the crime.
3-4 car garage sketchy neighborhoods.
Yeah.
Got it.
Mansions everywhere. It's really scary. So even with all his privileges of wealth, Paul didn't have the easiest of childhoods. He's kind of seen, I know, I saw your face. He's kind of seen in his family as the problem child.
Well, he started drinking at 13.
Yeah,
That's a bit of a problem.
Yeah,
this probably started before.
This started way earlier. Yeah, so he was always mischievous, getting into trouble a lot. But even with that kind of attitude, he's shy and super sensitive. So
super sensitive,
I know,
troublemaker.
but
this doesn't really
mischievous,
jive,
right?
Okay.
But anytime as a young kid, his parents would criticize him or get after him, it really affected him because he's so sensitive.
Okay.
So he would just break down sobbing. And he was super embarrassed because he had a problem with wetting the bed, which now we know is because the brain's not fully developed. But back then they didn't know, and they thought it was just a kid being obnoxious or something. So his parents kind of humiliate him.
Just go to the bathroom before you go to bed. Like, he's just not being responsible.
Right. And that's how his parents...
in the early 80s, tough love was like a big thing. Tough love.
Really hard. So he is humiliated. His mom puts up a chart in a prominent place.
Oh, God. So
all of the other kids knew if he got a star that he didn't pee that night, but they would know the many times he didn't. Yeah.
God. Okay. That's...
Yeah. So he was so humiliated. I'm sure they teased him to death, but...
Oh, God, right?
Yeah, poor kid. So when he had started school, he had trouble from the get-go. And as time went on, his grades slipped further and further. And his parents seemed to use negative reinforcement, like we said, tough love, to attempt to shame him into doing better.
But to be honest, that was not uncommon then.
No,
it wasn't good, but we didn't know that then.
Yeah, we didn't know there were other ways.
Yeah, not everybody was aware that what they were doing was detrimental.
Oh, no.
So
I think in a lot of ways, that's what therapists told them to do.
Right. They were trying their best to be good parents, most likely.
Yeah, I think they were.
Most likely.
No, it seemed like it because they don't seem like terrible people. I think they're doing what they're told to do. I remember my parents being told, so me and my brother fought like cats and dogs. I mean, it was terrible. It must have been constant for my mom. And I know her counselor told her, well, let them just fight it out. Don't intervene. Which... What?
So there's bloodshed? What the hell?
So it just comes... Yeah. And plus we were 5 years apart. So it wasn't fair at all. And it was awful.
It wasn't a fair fight.
It wasn't a fair fight. So...
just let them duke it out.
Yeah. So like I learned for my kids when that started, I was like, I'm not going to let this happen. So I started like a kindness chart where if they were kind to each other, they got stars. And if they got enough stars, they got something that they wanted at the end of the month. And now they're like the best friends. And it was like changed on a dime when we started that. And it was like, thank God, because I did not want my kids to hate each other. It sucked. So I think it was, like you said, I think it was just the way it was back then, which freaking sucked. So this poor kid, he's not doing well in school. His parents are like, oh, you're just lazy and being, not trying hard enough.
Yeah, that's helpful.
So, yeah, thanks. So by the time Paul reaches junior high and high school, he's consistently failing classes. Like he just can't get through it. And his parents are just, oh, you're just lazy. You just don't want to try. And demeaning him.
I feel bad for him.
I know. I feel like it kind of makes me sick. Like you see the kids that are going through that now and you're just like, why did your parents have you if they didn't want to treat you good? But
I know.
So he feels repeatedly put down and belittled and he wants to escape the demeaning. And he finds that escape at 13 in alcohol. So that's why he started drinking. It deadens his feelings. He felt like, okay, if I can do this, I can get through anything, I'll just drink my woes away. I'm not sure how he got it. Dad probably had a good bar.
Right. Probably. The whole replace the alcohol with water, fill it back up.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
I didn't do that, but I do know people who did. I know people who did, people who I'm related to.
Yeah, you never did that. Friends did that. I wouldn't have ever done that. Paul had failed out of one high school. And so they get him into another high school and he squeaks by, gets his diploma.
Okay.
So he did it.
Squeaked by. Okay.
Yep. And even though he didn't do well in high school, he manages to get into college. And I get the feeling like his parents are like forcing him to go to college, or like he's heavily expected to, because it doesn't seem like he likes school too much. But
right, yeah.
And especially this, I get that feeling because he doesn't take college seriously either. His main focus is partying.
Yeah, but it's more expensive to not pay attention.
I know, but his parents are footing the bill, so why does he care?
Right, okay, all right.
So his focus is partying, being popular, and he drinks and drugs up far more than he attends classes, which doesn't end up going too well.
Right.
But by this time, he's not shy. He is the life of the party every time he goes out. He is a super fun partier. And in fact,
I know that guy. Yep, okay.
Yes.
All right, I know him.
I remember those guys. So, in fact, he's so popular in college that he gets voted in as class president because of his platform of get drunk and flunk for all.
Did he have that printed on posters?
I wonder. I know that was his platform. Everybody get drunk. Have the right to flunk.
Flunk. Oh, yeah. God. Okay.
Yeah. So, I mean, it rhymes. But even with this achievement, even with being the class president, he flunks out of college.
I am shocked.
Yeah. Get this. His last college GPA for that semester before Christmas break was a whopping 0.25.
I didn't know.
0.25. So I don't know if that means he passed one test or one class.
Was he only enrolled in one class? Like, how do you
know? 0.25. Some teacher was like, oh, I'll give him a point for showing up one day.
Yeah, through a bone.
So now we have some of the backstory of Paul's upbringing.
Yeah.
We're going to go back to that night in 1988 where Paul's asking for the car to go out with his friends.
Right.
Okay. He hasn't broken the news of his college flunk out yet to his parents.
It's happened, but they don't know yet.
They don't know yet.
Right. There's a little bit of lag time between when you come home for Christmas break and when your actual report card arrives.
Right. So he's like, I'm not going to tell them yet. He knows all hell will break loose when they do find out. So he's like, okay, I'm just going to have this one night of stress relief before I've got to break
face reality.
Yeah. Right. So his parents agree to let him use the car with the understanding that he'd better not drink and drive. So, of course, Paul's like, oh, yeah, no, I would never do that.
Yeah, I don't know who you're talking to. They know exactly who they're talking to.
Yeah. And I know at this point they know he's got a drinking problem. So I'm not sure why they are trusting him. But he decides he needs this one night. They did. They trusted him. So also always follow that rule. I wanted to put that in there. Don't drink and drive. We don't say that we should do this.
We don't. No. We don't condone this at all.
So on that night, Paul goes on a massive bender. He starts with friends at a bar. They're like maybe 4 friends or something. It's not a huge amount of them. But they have like 5 pitchers of kamikazes.
Oh,
5 pitchers of kamikazes, which I figured we should share a little recipe if people want to try kamikazes.
Fuck, I can't remember the last time I had a kamikaze.
I know. I was like, what is in a kamikaze? Apparently, they're essentially a margarita made with vodka instead of tequila.
Really? I thought it had more shit in it.
I did too. I thought it was like everything, kind of like those.
Well, especially when you call it a kamikaze. I thought it was like a.
Right. Like it's going to kill you.
Like we just threw in whatever we had left from these 4 bottles.
That's what I think.
And then threw some cherry on it.
Exactly. I think that's what it became. But yeah, and the background of it is it was invented on an American naval base in Japan after World War II.
Why? Because they were out of tequila?
Probably.
They were just out of tequila, and they're like, well, we got vodka.
Try it out. So anyway, there's your recipe in case you need to try kamikaze. Yeah. The smallish group, they have the 5 pitchers of kamikazes as well as 2 pitchers of beer. Maybe they're fresh in the palate. I mean, by that time, the beer, do you even taste it? Blech.
Oh my God.
I know. So by 2 a.m., Paul and his friends are shit-faced.
Oh, yeah.
Big times. And for Paul, the years of heavy drinking, he's got this high tolerance, but even his alcoholism isn't keeping him from being as...
Feeling it? Oh, he felt it. Okay.
He is shit-faced. Yeah. And Oh, in fact, his alcoholism is so bad that he shakes when he's not drinking. So that's kind of sad. So that's kind of sad.
He's 21? What did you say?
21, yeah.
Woo!
Yeah. But that shows how bad his alcoholism. But at this night, he truly has outdone himself, gone above and beyond.
Dang.
So when it's time to go home, he's like, people are like, maybe you shouldn't drive. Maybe we should get a cab. No.
Maybe.
Yeah, maybe. Yep. He's like, no, I'm good. Let's go. So he and his friend hop into his mom's car and they take off.
I'm not shaking anymore. I'm great.
Yeah, I'm fine. I'm good.
Shit.
I feel great. They don't have to go that far to get home, but even so, Paul misses a turn and he smashes into a guardrail. And luckily, that's all he smashed into, not other people or something. But
all right.
But the car's not just damaged; it's pretty badly wrecked.
Total.
Yeah. And Paul's now freaking out.
Was he in the car by himself, or was?
Oh no, he brought a friend with him. He was driving one friend.
Mm-hmm. Great. Let's endanger other people as well.
Exactly. So now Paul's freaking out even more so, as much as one can when they're shit-faced drunk. But he's like, oh my God, I wrecked my mom's car. All that kind of stuff. And it's not the first time he's wrecked one of his parents' cars.
It's not.
Yeah. And
are you serious?
And the last time he was severely scorned for it. Like, I'm imagining for like years, like, well, if you hadn't wrecked the Mercedes years ago, yada, 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 that kind of thing.
Right. Well, it obviously didn't deter him very much, did it?
I was like, fair. I mean, it's hard to trust someone who has a history of poor behavior.
No wonder they said, okay, you can have the car, but don't drink.
Don't drink. Yep. Yeah. So he doesn't want to face the cops or getting arrested. So he leaves. He walks off in the night and he leaves his friend behind.
What?
Luckily, the friend is fine also. And he walks away, goes walking towards his house.
What story are they going to have? I don't know. Some other drunk ass came and took the car and crashed it. I don't know what happened.
I don't know what happened. We're just leaving. Yeah, obviously, he's not thinking well at this point. So he's walking. He's drunk walking. He's thinking about the upcoming degrading he's going to get when he goes home. And
oh, yeah, right.
And he keeps thinking about what a failure he is. And once again, he's failed his parents and himself. And he's such a loser, that type of thing. He's got pretty bad self-loathing.
Yeah. The self-esteem is pretty.
Yeah, it's pretty low.
Rock bottom.
Mm-hmm. He has a 3-mile walk to get home. And he's dreading his confession.
Does he make it? Because I don't know, 3 miles, I might get lost going home.
I know. In the middle of the night. Right.
So that's far.
So yeah. Meanwhile, at his parents' house, the phone rings at 3 a.m.
Oh God.
Yeah, they're in a dead sleep. They wake up and it's the police. They're calling to say, hey, we found your wrecked car alongside the road. Nobody's in it. And Paul's mom, Mary, she's like, yeah, my son has the car for the evening. Let me go check to see what his story is. She goes to look for him in his room. He's not there.
He's still walking 3 miles.
Exactly. He had a ways to go.
Time.
Mm-hmm. Especially when you're stumbling.
Yeah, right.
The next morning, though, at 8 a.m., Mary, his mom, she charges into Paul's room. This time, Paul's in bed. And
she let him sleep?
She let him sleep a little bit. She's like, you got till 8 a.m., you son of a bitch.
Right.
So she yells at him, get your ass out of bed. We need to figure out this car situation. And Paul is super hungover and he's like, what situation? You know, she walks out of the room and he's going, God. Oh my God, I don't know what happened. He doesn't remember any of that. Oh God. The last thing he remembers is his friend Jean, who'd been in the car with him, yelling at him, but he doesn't remember why. So he gets out of bed and he realizes, holy shit, I'm naked. He's looking around and he's like, I can't find my clothes from last night anywhere. Like legit. They are nowhere to be found. So,
and where did I remove them?
I know, exactly. So he's like, oh shit. Oh well.
Is this a 3-mile naked walk?
Yeah. Who knows? So he doesn't know. So he's able to convince his parents. You know, remember how we talked about with strict parents, you get really good at manipulating and lying and stuff. And probably he got lying because he got good at it because he was embarrassed about being a failure all the time.
Right.
He tells him, oh, yeah, the car had a flat tire, so we left it on the side of the road and somebody must have stolen it and crashed it, is what
someone stole a car with a flat tire?
And then they were like...
you can make a quick getaway that way.
I know. So they're like, okay. They want to believe him, So
come on.
He kind of gets away with it.
They also stole my clothes.
Yeah. I don't think he even mentioned that he couldn't find his clothes. I think he put on something new and was like, oh, okay, I guess they're just gone. However, his self-loathing, it starts to bubble up. And he knows he's let himself get out of control again. He's like, this is probably the worst time I've done this. Mm-hmm. And that same feeling that he has now is one that had happened when he was 16 and he had attempted suicide.
Okay.
So he had taken loads of Tylenol with alcohol at 16. And it wasn't just a cry for help because it was so severe that all indications led that he meant to die that night.
Okay.
But luckily he'd been found in time and his stomach had been pumped.
Okay. This wasn't a half-ass attempt. This was I intended for this to work.
Serious back then. So at that time at 16, he admitted he needed help. And his parents got him a psychiatrist who examined him. And the doctor found that Paul had suffered from pretty severe learning disabilities, which was why he had struggled so badly in school.
That explains a lot.
So much.
Wow. Okay.
However, since he's so far into his academic life, there's no way for him to catch up at that point in his mind, for him anyway.
All right. And for him, it's like, okay, well, that's a lost cause then.
And this realization made him so furious with his parents because all the signs were there, but they didn't get him help. But also that's kind of on teachers too, to say.
Oh, yeah, right. There was more than one people involved, more than one person who failed him in that sense.
He felt they had caused his humiliation all his life, made him feel like a freak all of his life. And it wasn't even his fault, really. He could have been helped early on and had a normal upbringing and had a normal life. But so he really blamed them for that. So by the time Paul is 18, his anger at them became so subversive and out of control that the psychiatrist determined he had patricidal and matricidal tendencies.
Whoa.
Yeah. So that means the doctor is saying, like, subconsciously, he wants to kill his parents, but not necessarily that he would act on it. It's just kind of a tendency. I know, scary. But at this time, so he's 18 at this time when the psychiatrist determines this. So that information is privileged and his parents don't get to know about it.
Okay. But Paul knows this.
Paul knows this. Yeah, he knew. But he's like, oh, I would never do something like that.
Wouldn't this be a good time to maybe urge or suggest that maybe it's time we don't live at home?
Yeah, maybe
we need some space.
Yeah, especially, yeah. And I think that's why he did part of the reason maybe he went to college. Was like, maybe I just need to get away.
Because it's hard to move out at 18. Especially when you didn't do good at school. What are you going to do?
Yeah, but what are you going to do?
College is kind of a safe stepping stone.
Yeah, it is a good way to kind of slowly become an adult somehow. Okay, so now we're fast forwarding a couple of years to the winter of 1991.
Okay.
It's been a little more than 2 years since that car crash. And Paul's now 23. And Paul's girlfriend has convinced him, yo, you definitely have alcoholism and you definitely need to get help for this shit.
It's been a couple of years and they're still having this discussion?
Yeah. Okay. So he actually agrees and he's like, you're right. It's time. I need help. So he finally decides to get involved with Alcoholics Anonymous.
Good. Okay.
Yes. And he's been sober for 2 months and he's committed to seeing himself through for a better future.
Okay.
And as we've heard often, there's 12 steps addicts go through in AA. Paul has made it through the first 3 already, but he's really having trouble on the 4th step. So the 4th step is to make a fearless moral inventory of yourself. So basically that's going through all of your actions, taking inventory of everything you've done that you regret and facing those regrets.
Whoo, that's going to be
it's a doozy. Yeah. Okay, so since that car crash a couple years earlier, Paul has had horrifying, violent dreams, horrible, violent images in them.
Oh, God.
And since getting sober, the dreams have gotten far more frequent and more vivid.
Oh, I don't know. For some reason, I thought it would be the opposite, but no, I guess.
Yeah.
His mind's getting clearer?
Right. I think it's bringing up things, possibly. In his nightmares, he's standing over 2 people in a bed, soaked with blood, while holding a large knife in his hand. And in the dream, you know how you kind of sense who people are in a dream and stuff?
Yeah.
He can't quite see their faces. He senses, okay, it's my parents. I've killed my parents in my dream.
But also he had that thought in his head because that's what the psychiatrist said, was you have these tendencies. So I could see where that would, man, that's got to be a weird feeling.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's been happening for a long time, but they're getting worse and worse. And so the thought of sleeping starts making him fearful because he's like, I don't want to see this shit coming back. It'll keep coming. And his parents in real life, they're fine. They're fine. They're alive. He certainly didn't hurt them. They're fine. Okay. Physically. Don't know about mentally. But
can't speak for any other way.
But physically they're all right. Despite that fact, and the more time that he's sober, the nightmares keep coming. And with each one, more details emerge. He can see more and more.
Fuck, this is like Nightmare on Elm Street, where you don't want to go to sleep.
Yes. Oh. Like, don't let me go to sleep. Keep me awake, Sydney. Whatever their names were. Nancy. So soon the nightmare shows him that he breaks into this house, and that's how he gets into the house. And then he stabs a couple in their bed while they're sleeping. So he gets more and more little tidbits. And slowly the faces in the dream changes from his parents to another couple. And he remembers seeing these people on the news a couple of years prior. The car crash had happened on New Year's Eve. And on New Year's Day, the wealthy residents of Larchmont woke up to the disturbing news of a double homicide in their area.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Lakshman and Shanta Shervu, and they had been slain in their own home and in their own bed.
I'm stunned right now.
I know. Okay, so you got to hear about this couple. They're amazing. So this couple was originally from India, and they're now living the total American dream. They had moved to Canada in the 70s with nothing but the clothes on their backs, literally. And they eventually immigrated to the U.S. And they're both practicing doctors now who worked extremely hard to get where they were. In 1975, they bought this lovely 2-story home in Larchmont, which was a dream come true for them. They were excited to raise their family in that small community of about 6,000 people with excellent schools. So these were really good people. And it had been 14 years since they moved to Larchmont on that New Year's Day. The Shervu's daughter, Arati, had been trying to get a hold of them to wish them a happy new year. And she kept trying to call, like all their kids are like doctors too, by the way.
Oh my God.
I know. They're amazing. When her repeated attempts to call go unanswered, Arati's like, okay, this is scary. So she calls her uncle who lives nearby and has him go check on her parents. So the uncle, he pulls up to the house. Everything looks normal and in order out front. He tries the front door. It's locked. So he goes around to the back, and there's a broken window on the door to the kitchen.
Okay.
And the screen's broken. And then he notices there's blood drops all over the porch leading away from the house. Yeah. So that's what him. He's like, bad. I'm just calling the police. So he just calls the police.
Yeah. Don't disturb the scene.
Don't do anything. He was smart. He calls them. They come by. They say, oh, God, shit. This is a bad scene. They get up there.
We're going to need some serious backup.
Please. There's the couple laying in their bed in a giant pool of blood, stabbed multiple times. Their throats had been slit. I mean, it was bad. They were 51 and 58 at the time. So the rage of the attack was clear. Like, this is personal. This is brutal. They wanted him dead. But police are frustrated because nobody can think of anyone that would have a motive to kill them. They're like the nicest people. Everyone adored them. They had great workers, everything. So the motivation also wasn't burglary because there's no drawers open. Nothing's taken.
And it looked like a very personal attack.
Oh, it was big time personal. So everything of value in its place. It did look like whomever had done this had washed up downstairs in a bathroom.
Okay.
They found that there was a knife missing from the block on the counter, like the knife block on the counter.
Yeah.
Like, okay, so that's where the weapon probably came from.
Right. Oh, God.
And the only clue they find is a perfect bloody palm print that didn't match any of the family in the place. So they're like, okay, well, besides the print and without the weapon or any clues or any motivation, police have like nothing.
They have nothing to go on if none of that's in any kind of system, any of those prints.
Nothing.
They don't take palm prints either, right?
Not normally, I don't know. Maybe.
But not palm.
Yeah. Seems odd, doesn't it? Maybe they do now. Who knows? Well, now they got DNA. So, but there hadn't been a homicide in Larchmont in 12 years. And police are like, holy shit, we don't know what to do. They bring in like 3 other law enforcement agencies to help with it.
We need backup. This is out of our league.
We're used to kids taking things from the grocery store. That's it.
There was a lost dog last week. That's all.
We helped a cat of a tree. I don't get it. So the news breaks and it's featured incessantly on TV. You know, it's the big news in the area.
Yeah, right. That's huge.
That morning, Paul and his family, they see the news story and they're just horrified. But they're even more shocked when they see the killings were at their old home that they had lived in until Paul was 7 years old.
Holy shit.
Mm-hmm. It's all coming together, huh?
Oh, I was like, when you were telling me in my head, I'm sitting there going, was it the same model house? Was it a block over? Was it like, I was trying to like.
Yeah. How did it correlate to him? Did
his Irish parents look Indian? Like I was trying to figure out.
Yes, it's so close. I mean,
that's not even in the same skin tone family.
No.
Like how? I know it was dark and he was drunk, but like.
But still.
Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God.
Yeah. So when Paul sees the news, he remembers, I do remember seeing that lady before. This is after he'd been drunk,
Right.
He's like, I remember seeing her when he was still a kid. His family had moved away from that house, only like a few blocks away. And Paul had stopped by his former house and knocked on the door. And when the Indian American woman answered, Paul introduced himself and he says, I grew up here. Can I come look around, kind of for sentimental reasons? She told him no, and he went away. So like, no, that's weird. I'm not letting you in my house. I'd probably say the same thing.
I don't know you. I know, I get it. And yet weird. I'm like,
I know.
Yeah, weird kid. Yeah. I don't know you.
Yeah, like, are you coming in to try to scope the place? What are you doing?
Right.
Yeah. So now at the age of 23, he's in AA. He's racked with these vivid and horrifying nightmares. He's like, could I have done something to cause their deaths? Like, he legit cannot remember. So he decides, as part of this program, he's like, I'm going to share this with the group. He talks about it to the group. He explains how he was blackout drunk and doesn't consciously remember hurting anyone, but could the dreams actually be memories that are kind of swimming up from his subconscious?
He admitted this to a group of people?
Yeah, a group of
Not
AA.
to like a single doctor, but a group of people.
I think he started with his like sponsor, his AA sponsor. I think so. Not to his psychiatrist or anything.
Have a story?
The police have been looking for leads still. Nothing. It's now a cold case. They had even consulted a psychic at one point who spoke of water and implied that maybe the knife was in water somewhere. So they're still going. So Paul is struggling with this idea that he may have been a murderer. He seeks more and more guidance within AA. It's kind of a spiritual guidance type thing for him. He believed AA's focus on anonymity meant that anything he said was also legally confidential. However,
dude, you gotta read the fine print.
Yep. You gotta read that. AA is not considered to be the religious confessions or lawyer confidentiality, safety umbrella type thing, In May of 1993, one of Paul's AA friends, she goes to her psychiatrist and she tells him about Paul's story. And I tried to find out if psychiatrists are obligated to report things like this.
I think so.
Yeah, it's kind of a gray area. They are required to reach out to law enforcement to warn of a patient's intent to commit a crime. But for crimes that have already happened, they don't have to tell police unless they believe the perpetrator is likely to offend again. But it's kind of left up to them whether they can tell or not.
I mean, I knew that. Like, I know if you would say something where they think that you are a danger to yourself or others, they are obligated to report
to say something. Right.
But, I guess I never thought about it as a
past crimes
previous thing.
But you would think they would kind of have to.
I guess if it's something where they think that, this could happen again, then that falls under a danger to others.
Yeah. So it's kind of a gray area. So this psychiatrist is like, hell yeah, I'm telling him. So psychiatrist does report it. And police jump on the information. They legit go and snatch Paul Cox up off the street right away. They take his palm print. Yeah, and when compared to the one at the Chervu murder, it's a match.
So
he had done it.
Fuck.
I know, and to not remember. Oh, holy shit. In June, a year later, 1994, Paul goes to trial for the murders. His defense team argues that he's legally insane at the time of the incident since it happened during an alcoholic blackout.
That doesn't make you insane. It makes you, I don't know, but it doesn't make you insane.
I know. Well, they argue that he's not responsible for his actions during it because he and his brain were out of control.
Yeah, but that doesn't hold water when it's like a drunk driving incident.
Yeah, good point. That's a good point.
Sorry, you're still responsible.
You're still responsible for your actions.
If you kill somebody while you are drunk driving, even if you don't remember.
Yeah.
So I call bullshit on that one, but nice try.
Nice try. So
they were probably grasping at straws for some kind of defense. They're like, we got to.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, they're trying anything. So, and he's got money, so his parents are probably paying for the lawyer.
Right.
But Paul's parents, who were likely the intended targets, they attend court every day and support him. Like, can you imagine finding out that, like, he thought he was killing his parents?
Right. Oh my God.
Holy shit. But they're like, it's okay, honey.
Wow, they really did a full 180 from yelling at him for wetting the bed to sitting in like behind him going,
you thought you killed
You're
us.
still our son. Like, wow, that is a turnaround.
But if you pee or get fed again, we are not behind you. So
but fuck, if they would have just given him some slack when he peed the bed, maybe we wouldn't
maybe
be in court.
we wouldn't
just
be
saying.
here.
Just saying.
Maybe that's what they've come to realize
right,
now that they're older. After all the information is presented and both sides rest, the trial falls apart when the jury can't reach a unanimous verdict. Like,
really?
There's one holdout saying, no, he is not guilty. So,
this is somebody who regularly drinks and drives. Sorry. Did I say that?
Whoops. They were like, hey, I get it, man.
Right. Yikes.
So another trial begins 5 months later for the same case. And this time, Paul takes the stand.
Oh,
yeah, to explain his severe blackouts. He thinks, his lawyers think, well, maybe that'll make the jury kind of feel for him. No,
because you get to be cross-examined.
Yeah.
And you don't fucking remember what you did.
Nope.
And you kind of ratted out yourself.
Yeah.
I mean, they had nothing until you said something.
Exactly. And he says, he's like, yeah, I believe I did commit the murders. He admits he thinks he did it, but that he has no true memory of it. And it's kind of interesting because they had all these psychiatrists testify. And they did say that it was likely when Paul crashed the car and the trauma of that, along with the massive alcohol in his system, could have triggered his blackout, which, I mean, but he probably was going to black out anyway. And they say during such a blackout, the information feeding into the brain doesn't transfer into long-term memory. And this is why he doesn't remember doing what he did. But they explain the ability to store memories in a blackout isn't 100% complete. So like, I've had a couple times where I've blacked out and don't remember things, but then somebody will say, oh, do you remember doing this and that during it? And oh yeah. And it kind of triggers.
Yeah. It triggers
a little bit
like,
of memory.
oh, that sounds vaguely familiar. Or you see a flash of something and you're like,
you kind of get,
okay.
Yeah,
right.
exactly.
Yeah.
You remember little snapshots of what happened. So especially when reminded or seeing something that triggers the memory. So they think seeing the news report probably started those flashbacks in Paul's dreams to that, like seeing their faces.
Okay. Yeah.
So they say the shock of the crash, the alcohol, his own self-loathing triggered a deep psychosis. And they believe he couldn't determine in that state what was reality and what was fantasy. But yeah, I know.
But he wouldn't have been in that position in the first place if he hadn't gone out and had 5 pictures of kamikazes.
Exactly. He was willingly getting himself into that state.
Right. He
Unlike
put himself
an
in a
insane person.
State of blackout.
Right.
This wasn't a psychotic break or a trauma response.
He was choosing to give there, not. I'm with you.
And he knew he got blackout drunk.
Right. He knew he would get this way. And he wanted to.
He was 21, and so he wasn't as responsible as, say, an older adult.
True.
And so he made bad choices because that's what we do when we're younger. But again,
it was his choice to get that way.
Responsible. I don't
exactly.
know, man.
I agree. Their theory is that he had set out to go home, but that going that way, he would have passed by his childhood home on the way to his later in life home.
Oh.
And seeing this, they say, while in this psychotic state, his rage explodes. He commits the murders, thinking he's killing his parents. Kind of almost as a childlike, going back to his old self in a way.
But if he was remembering that as his own house, why would he have to break in?
Absolutely.
Right. And
right.
I have a hard time picturing.
Of course, he's probably not thinking straight, but
no, lock
the front door.
I don't know. There would be different furniture in there, and the chances that their bed was positioned the same way his parents' bed was. I don't know.
Totally.
I still feel.
How did he not know that something was off? Yeah.
Okay.
They say after that, he walks home, goes to sleep.
And somewhere along the lines got
he lost his clothes. Yeah. And Paul, he does admit that it comes up in his later dreams that he is getting rid of the knife in Long Island Sound. Remember how the psychic had said it's in water?
It's in water.
Yeah.
Okay.
Interesting. But he doesn't know anything about his clothes. I wonder if that was in the water too. Maybe he just threw it.
Dumped them in the water?
I don't know. Nobody ever found his clothes.
Huh.
So weird. And he doesn't even know. So
I wonder if he got rid of his clothes before or after he committed the murders. Did he get rid of them because he was covered in blood? Or was he drunk and hot?
Yeah.
Took off his clothes.
It does happen. True.
I don't know.
Huh. Yeah, who knows? He doesn't remember. So this time the jury does come back with a verdict. They find Paul guilty of manslaughter, and he's sentenced to 2 25-year terms to be served concurrently, which means he serves all the time in one shot as opposed to consecutively back to back.
Okay.
Which doesn't seem as tough.
Yeah. Right. But 25 years.
Yeah. And I know the Shervu family's pissed because it's he gets to serve it all at once.
No, I get it. I get why they're pissed. I get it.
For sure. Trying to say, and they were really pissed about him saying he was pushed so hard as a kid. And they're like, are you fucking kidding me? One of those kids finished high school at 15 and went to college at 15 of the Shervu family. And they're like, you don't know being pushed, honey.
Right, exactly. I came from a family where I was expected to be a doctor like my parents.
Exactly.
Okay, let me just tell you.
And you had
pressure.
your pee-pee chart on the wall, so don't tell me about pressure. You got stars for peeing. But in August of 2001, so this is a few years after he's gone to jail, a judge overturns his conviction.
What?
Yeah, overturn it, believing the sanctity of AA confidentiality was much like a religious privilege because of the religious components of AA. When people go in, they pray, they do all these, speak to God, all these things, talk, you're supposed to make amends with God, all this kind of stuff. So this judge is trying to say it's religious, it's a spiritual guidance. Exactly. But it's okay. He didn't get let out. The state appealed the judge's ruling, and another court upheld the original sentence.
Oh, thank goodness, because I'm sorry. No, that was bullshit.
Yeah.
That was some bullshit right there.
But in 2015, Paul was released from prison after serving 20 years. And I think I found where he lives. Still in New York. Yeah.
Are you serious? He's out?
Out.
How old is he now then?
Yeah, 50-something. So
probably his parents are not around. They're
yeah, I saw there's
quote unquote safe.
Yep, they're both. Yep, they've both passed. But he's got all those brothers and sisters and all that. But,
I wonder how they all get along.
Yeah.
Oh God,
I know. Wouldn't that be interesting? I never read anything about the other kids or anything.
How do you feel about the fact that your brother murdered somebody else, thinking it was your parents?
I know. Isn't that freaking insane that he
Family reunions are awkward.
They kept the P chart so they can tease him all the time.
Oh, God. You thought we were hard on you before.
Yeah,
Let
wait
me just
now.
tell ya.
Oh, boy.
Oh, my God.
Rough. But it's
Dude, that's a crazy story.
Isn't that crazy that he just didn't remember any of it? And I feel bad for, I totally get the demeaning feeling he had and how much he hated himself. But I'm hoping now he is still sober and is leading a much better life. He served his time.
As though parenting isn't stressful enough, but look what can happen if you fuck up your kid. Oh my God.
Like we already had that. We're having a lot of those. We're having a lot of those this season. We did Sierra, who killed her dad. You had one. Oh my God.
Oh shit.
What's happening? Please don't kill us, children.
Pressure.
There's so much pressure. Parenting's the hardest in the world.
And it's not just, I won't raise a good human. They could come back and kill me.
They could come back and kill us. I know. I fucked up a lot, but God. Well, would you like to hear my sources?
Yeah, okay.
Okay. How not to be a bad parent. We do not know the answer to this.
Wow.
Okay. TheGuardian.com, NewYorkTimes.com, an article by Joseph Berger, Unraveled. It's a TV show, episode 3, Dead Drunk.
You could have done one dead drunk for murder.
Could have. But he's not. So,
Right.
Yeah, he makes other people dead. Lohud, LOHUD.com, and truecrimediscussions.blogspot.com, and caselaw.findlaw.com.
Ooh. That was a crazy
Isn't it
one.
weird? I was so sad. Like
they wouldn't have solved the crime if he hadn't remembered.
And that was part of why they were fighting so hard, like saying, hey, if these AA people hadn't turned him in, they wouldn't have known how to get his print. So unless he came forward. And so he doesn't really, did they have the right to arrest him when they did? Did they have enough evidence, they thought, just by someone saying that? So there was a whole little, they were trying to do, but.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Okay.
At least he feels a lot of remorse for it.
Oh my God.
I know.
That's a rough one, man.
It is. Like, you kind of feel bad for, I definitely feel bad for the Shervus. I mean, that was just
Yeah, they just bought the wrong house.
Yeah, they didn't do anything wrong.
They did nothing.
Dang. Yeah. Totally innocent people. So sad.
Woo.
All right. Well, thank you for listening to another episode.
Thanks, everybody.
Don't drink and drive.
Oh my God. Don't.
Oh
God,
don't
please.
drink and drive.
So much of this could have been avoided.
AA, if you need help. Yes. All right. Jen's face.
I'm still disturbed.
It was very disturbing. Okay.
Go hug my children.
I know.
You know I love you, right?
Don't kill me.
God.
But, so many people have been through worse and they've never killed their parents. So
this is true. This is true. It's hard to know what's going to set somebody off.
They just get on meth. So you just never. Oh,
Get on meth.
It's kill your parents or get on meth. Which are you going to choose?
Oh, my God.
Hey, Oddies. Thanks for listening to another episode of ODFM. If you're a longtime listener, hey, we cannot thank you enough for your continued support. And if you're a new listener, thanks for giving us a try. If you like us, please drop us a like, subscribe, or rate us so we can share our stories with more people around the world. And if you'd like more information, like links to our podcast and socials, along with our Patreon fan page, those links are all on Linktree under ODFM Podcast. That's linktr.ee/ODFM Podcast. Side note, you guys, we're obsessed with fan art, and we love making things with it, like stickers for our fans. So if you'd like us to use your designs, send it to us at odfmpodcast@gmail.com. And if we use your design, we'll be sure to send you a sticker.
Thanks for listening to another episode of ODFM, hosted by Kelly DeVries and Jenna Swanson. Production and editing by Kelly DeVries. Theme music by Eric Swanson. ODFM is a satirical true crime podcast for entertainment purposes only. The stories you hear are serious and true. The comments and opinions are not. We apologize if any of our content is harmful or disrespectful.